We are starting our actually first live session of something called Empowerment Talks and Ignite the Spark. So, how did this idea got emerged? We'll take 2 minutes on it and then we'll start move with the story of what this is about. So, the story started from COVID when I got chance working with some philanthropic institutes, and still we continue those efforts. It's been 2 years, but depression was at peak, right? And there was this group of community of seniors, people from 40, 50 plus to all the way up to 80 years. About 120 people used to join the session, and still it goes on in a Zoom. We'll continue that for those who are common, but the idea got out that why not to take those sessions to the next level. I have kind of got this kind plus 200,000 followerships if I combine all my channels, and I usually get these kinds of questions which I feel have increased for last 3 months. And what happened is I usually figured out that what kind of questions are coming up now. So I, being a impact person, I feel to give impact as I can in my small capacity. But what I felt really was where the problems are. So common problems that I saw were more stress and anxiety related problems. Many people were struggling with stress in their day-to-day lives, work relationships, financial difficulties. Every day they hear recession news. Some really get the recession across in their work life. People lose their businesses. So I really get to know, and some people I really know by face. The problem is mental health awareness, and we hear these buzzwords everywhere these days, whether it's philanthropic institutes, whether it's one of the millennium development goals agenda. Mental health is something, it's a not a kind of disease but a condition of mind where you are stressed out, where you are depressed, and still yet you don't know that you are depressed, right? And what are the common symptoms? You get low energy, you get fatigued out, you start losing interest in lives, you stop meeting people. Like you used to be friendly, you stop meeting people suddenly. Your interest in life, your professional activities, entrepreneurship, career completely changes. You stop believing in world, you stop believing in future. In a way, still you feel you are optimistic because as a personality you are, but you stop losing interest in meeting people, and that's where you get a disconnect. And what conditions, I'm telling you, I've tried studying about 150 200 people in a closed decorum for 2 years, and how we overcome that. Universe brought me to a point giving a solution. We got to that point with a very powerful phrase we all know, but yet we don't practice because we are busy in our day-to-day lives. And when we say we are busy in our day-to-day lives, we still take time out for happiness, but we don't do the right things. Going out, dining out, enjoying the nature, those are the things we all know. We do that, but sometimes we overdo with no retention value. So what I learned was, whatever you do, you need to have a group of people who you can meet, who you can talk. And this group of people should be positive people who not everybody is lucky to have, right? So now the problem is, there are always big things like wherever there is a mental health problem. So the story, of the moral of the story is, there was a lot of stress, anxiety, depression which was not yet apparent. And then one of the days I was lucky enough to found a depression test, and I asked people to take that test. And you would be amazed to hear that out of those 160 people, there were 73% depressed. And these people all look very bright, very happy, enjoying their day-to-day lives, but yet the depression test, and I myself took my test and it was around 60%. So conditions changed. Next week you take the depression test, maybe it would be 41%. There are a lot of free tests available, you can test yourself. But the idea is not to make you fear. The idea is, in this fast moving economy where nobody has time for no one, and people actually want to talk to you only if they have a rational or successful reason behind it. It's a greedy world. That's okay. Let's accept it. So you need to have good friends around. You need to have good peers around who can listen to you, and then you are also being there to listen to them. Okay. So if you are a greedy person who does not give time for people, you will find those kinds of people same repelling back to you, attracting back to you. So now the idea, what I realize is, let's create a platform. And we are now taking Ignite the Spark to these live sessions so that we can discuss out, and we'll also try to bring in good personalities, interview some successful people, keep it very low key, very informal, so you can learn from the experiences. So whether it's a stress anxiety related motivation, whether it's a building up the financial difficulties, these are the common problems, four problems I've sought out: stress anxiety, financial difficulties, mental health problems, and relationship issues. These are basic issues, four common issues. So I'm trying to build these live series around these four corners. And do suggest to share your thoughts, comment if you like. The purpose here is, feel free to chat, and I'm getting some options, people sharing the greets and all. Thank you, Narmin. Good morning. And I see a lot of people, about 173 people plus and minus. So the audience is building up, but the idea is still stays there. That's why I'm trying to come live, although it took me a lot of time to also. I haven't seen people doing live sessions yet. There are people who offline recorded, there are YouTubers, but I thought let's give it a try. It worked in 200 people decorum over Zoom. Let's extend it to more people and help each other. Okay, so now the point is, there was a very wonderful story of Alex, who we can commonly relate to ourselves. So Alex was usually not having a great performance at work, and he was more of getting to be laid off in his job, and his life was totally depressed. He was working more than any others could do. He was perfectly fulfilling all the duties he was, but suddenly in this recession he got the news, and he actually realized that what's next for me to do. And he realized that, let's start with something, going for a walk every day, which was not possible in day to day life. So what he realized walking day to day was, he was getting close to nature, he was having more time to talk to himself, and he got into a state of mind which is called self actualization meditation. So self actualization meditation is a kind of thought process where you speak to yourself. And many people would have this habit, which is very good, being your own friends. But in this fast moving world, truly we don't get that time. So what happened was, as he started revealing that his footsteps increase, his miles every day increase, he got good relation with himself, and then he starts getting priority in life, that why did all these things happen to him? Why suddenly he was at the peak of his career, nature or universe brought a lot of problems to him, and they forced them to get out of that situation. And realizing that, Alex was able to figure out that this was not a problem for him, this was an opportunity for him. Why? Because nevertheless, he would have been forced to stop what he was doing day to day, consecutively, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. This disconnect allowed him to do a rethought process of who he himself is, figured out his passion, figured out what he is doing, and actually restart back. And if you see, in 6 months of time, Alex was now going for a morning walk or evening walk every day. He had time for himself, and he got into a career which he actually loved. So 6 months of depression turned out to be a 600% gain for that person. But how was that possible? Through self mentorship. So there are different ways of getting out of stress. Why we discuss this story? One story, we always hear that talk to people, talk to people. There was a session I was taking yesterday, and one of the participants shared that there is a very big hospital, which is a cardiac hospital. They do heart surgeries, and it's written there in big boards that if you are coming here for heart transplantation and we are opening your heart, should you have opened your heart to other people, we would not have to open your heart through surgery here. So it's a very big learning. It's been written by one of the strong cardiac surgeons. So usually we don't share with people. That's important. Today, the world gives the suggestion that if you open up yourself to people, you will feel better. But there is a condition: if, then, and else. What are those conditions? You need to be very careful who you are opening yourself to. If you start opening yourself up to a lot of people, there would be people who are naysayers, you can make you more negative. Stay away from them. Better to be shut up, rather than sharing. What did Einstein said? Einstein said, if you want to be successful, write it down. That's the secret philosophy. And I really admire Einstein as a role model. 1100 patents is not a small thing. This guy must have some super motivation allowing him to walk that extra mile. So he says, you want to be successful, work hard, party hard, and keep the mouth shut. We know usually first and second principle, but we forget the third principle. Why? Because there is no such thing as bad eyes concept. There could be, but the main problem is when you open up yourself to people, there are 90% people out there who are happy with their small things and they like taking out fault in your new things. And when you yourself are not so strong by heart, you take those rejections or those problem statement from naysayers, and then you change your vision. And when you change your vision, you cannot go forward. So it's better to keep your mouth shut until you are that strong to figure out who to talk to, who to open up your heart. So in mental health awareness, the solution that today's world gave, or the Alex solution, could be he could have found people, found friends to talk to. But in this fast moving world, to be honest, and why I am forced to take this session, because I realize that, and I don't like taking names, but I realize so many people are living these days by themselves. They are surrounded by people, but everyone is so busy to share their success stories. Nobody is willing to share the problem at heart, which is why the mental health awareness needs to be there, right? So mental health is not a condition. Whenever we hear terms like psychology, depression, stress, we feel we are the ones, we are away from it. And that's a fact. Stanford research did a research on 11,000 students, which were CEOs, entrepreneur, professionals, students, married couples, divorced couples. They realized that the most depressed person is more confident about not knowing that he is going through depression. So, so that's a brutal fact about a disease which is there, which is a condition, not a disease again. But the one way to talk is either you find a friend, you can talk to your family, you can talk to your spouse. You have to build that reputation around it, that once you share your issues, they don't share it forward just for sake of your respect, and they give you a positive suggestion back. But if they are the ones who can make you more negative, let's say you tell them a story, and you are right now in a situation of mind where you are rather being thankful, you're thankless, right? Because you are counting your problems rather than counting your blessing. And the person you are discussing yourself with, he actually counts more problems for you. Rather than making you positive, he's turning you into a worse negative person. So what will happen? Your mental state will devastate. You will get more in a burden. So rather than talking to these kinds of people, better to follow Einstein's principle, shut them out up. But if you have been lucky to find people who you can trust, who can stay with you, develop that kind of mutual relationship. Second was what Alex did from the story. The moral of the story was, if you can learn how to be the best friend of yourself, if you learn how to talk to your mind, and there are two ways of doing it: take a walk or start writing. There was a study done by another university. I like reading these studies because there are so much objective out of it. They say that people who have a habit of writing diaries, and there are very few out there because these days it's a fast moving world again, those people who still write diaries a page a day, they have 31% less depression. That's a scientific fact. So one third of the depression is gone just by writing, because our human minds are always a receiver. We can talk to each other, but then on the same time we need to also be receptive to understand what mind is saying us. So, writing is the powerful way where you can put all your thoughts and get away with that negative reinforcement. Like you see, people usually work out, people punch the boxing bags when they are in stress and aggression, right? That's another way to take out depression. But those kinds of depression solutions don't help you find the solution. But writing could be a powerful solution, because if you keep on understanding yourself, that's the way to master the universe. And then the second is finding good friends. So I hope this motivational session helps you. Today we were more attuned towards mental health empowerment. So find a good friend, find a good family member, or become your good friend. There are three suggestions in today's world to succeed, because if you're living with resentment, if you're living with stress, in order to be successful, you need to let the bad part go. And if in order to let the bad part go, you need to have some strategies. So I hope today's strategies helped you. And we started kicked off our 15-20 minute talk. We'll try to keep it every Saturday 10 a.m. Central, and it could be different time zones, but I thought this is the best time for different regional geographies I usually have audience in. To cope up and rest, you can watch the recording. So I'll be taking up soon after some time some successful entrepreneurs as well, because we'll be talking about three things: health awareness, stress, anxiety, and motivation for success. And in those motivation for success, we'll talk about career, professional, businesses, different things. And if you have a suggestion for mentor, inbox me in personal. If you are part of my network, you want to be with me, we'll do a quick. So we'll keep it around 15-20 minutes, short and sweet. And I hope this helped you. Take care. Farid Premani signing.